Jai. Nityalila Pravishta Om Vishnu Parasta Terasata Srimad Srila Bhaktivedanta Narayana Swami Maharaj Ki Jai. Nityalila Pravishta Om Vishnu Parasta Terasata Srimad Bhaktivedanta Bhavananda Swami Maharaj Ki Jai. Nityalila Pravishta Om Vishnu Parasta Terasata Srimad Bhaktivedanta Srila Maharaj Ki Jai. Nityalila Pravishta Om Vishnu Parasta Terasata Srimad Bhaktivedanta Maharaj Ki Jai. Nityalila Pravishta Om Vishnu Parasta Terasata Srimad Bhaktivedanta Kesava Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai. Nityalila Pravishta Om Vishnu Parasta Terasata Srimad Bhakti Rakshak Srila Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai. Nityalila Pravishta Om Vishnu Parasta Terasata Srimad Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai. Nityalila Pravishta Paramahansa Srila Gaur Kishore Das Bhagavati Maharaj Ki Jai. Nityalila Pravishta Sachidananda Srila Bhaktivedanta Thakur Ki Jai. Nityalila Pravishta Vaishnava Sarvabhauma Srila Jagannath Das Bhagavati Maharaj Ki Jai. Shri Gauri Vedanta Charya Srila Bhavani Vidibhushan Prabhu Ki Jai. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur Ki Jai. Srila Natham Srila Vaishnava Prabhu Chaya Ki Jai. Srila Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami Prabhu Ki Jai. Shri Rup Sanatan Bhatta Raghunath Shri Jiva Gopal Bhatta Das Raghunath Sai Goswami Prabhu Ki Jai. Shri Sura Damodar Rai Ramananda Shri Gopal Shri Prabhu Ki Jai. Namacharya Shri Haridas Thakur Ki Jai. Prem Se Kaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasari Kaho Bhaktivinoda Ki Jai. Shri Adhiti Mayapur Shri Madhiti Kujumati Madhiti Kolati Madhiti Janati Vajidumati Pujurupamaka Shinavati Tam Ki Jai. Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gopa Gopi Gopalan Vadasavarama Shri Vaishmandala Ki Jai. Shri Shamakunda Radha Tulsi Bhakti Devi Ki Jai. Yogamaya Purnamasi Ki Jai. Gopishwar Mahadev Ki Jai. Jagannath Baladev Subhadra Sivasan Shakriti Ki Jai. Shri Purushottam Chaitra Ki Jai. Shringa Bhagavan Ki Jai. Bhakta Prabha Shri Prabhat Maharaj Ki Jai. Gantara Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Jai. Shri Harinam Sankirtan Ki Jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai. Samagata Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai. Nitai Gaur Premanandi Hari Hari Bo. Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Juta Pada Kamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathan Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padam Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakamitamscha Om Jnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Mukam Kuroti Vachalam Pangam Langayate Girim Yat Kripa Tamaham Bande Shri Gurun Dinataranam Vansha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namah Namo Mahabhadanyaya Krishna Prema Pradayati Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namne Gaura Trishe Namaha Nityanandam Namastubhyam Prema Ananda Pradayane Kalau Kalmasha Nashaya Janava Pataye Namaha Panchatattvatmakam Krishnam Bhakta Rupa Swarupakam Bhaktavataram Bhaktakyam Namami Bhakta Shaktikam He Krishna Karuna Sindho Dina Bandho Jagatpate
Gopesha, Gopika Kanta, Radha Kanta, Namostute. Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi, Radhe Vrindavaneshwari, Vrishabhanu Sute Devi, Pranamami Hari Priye. Vrindai Tulsi Debai Priyai Keshavasya Cha, Krishna Bhakti Prade Devi, Satyavachai Namo Namaha. Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda, Shri Advaita Gadadhar, Shivas Adi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So first of all, I'm offering my unlimited Dandavat pranams and my Shraddha Pushpanjali unto the lotus feet of my most worshipable beloved Gurudev, Nitya Lila Pravishta Om Vishnu Pad, Paramahansa Asto Tarashata, Sri Srila A.C. Bhakti Vedanta Swami Maharaj, Srila Prabhupada. And then I'm offering my same unlimited Dandavat pranams and my Shraddha Pushpanjali unto the lotus feet of my most worshipable beloved Siksha Gurudevs, Nitya Lila Pravishta Om Vishnu Pad Paramahansa Asto Tarasata Sri Srila Bhakti Rakshak Sridhar Goswami Maharaj, and Nitya Lila Pravishta Om Vishnu Pad Paramahansa Asto Tarasata Sri Srila Bhakti Vedanta Narayan Goswami Maharaj. My Dandavat pranams to the lotus feet of all of my Sri Sri Rupanuga Guru Varga. And my Dandavat pranams to all the Vaishnavas and all the Vaishnavis. So now we're going to complete the preface of the Nectar of Devotion, Srila Prabhupada's beautiful introduction. What is Krishna consciousness? We've been reading it and becoming completely amazed at how Srila Prabhupada's amazing way of speaking and enabling people to understand. Very, very high subject matter, but making it accessible by simple analogies. The beauty of Srila Prabhupada's amazing, empowered way of giving Krishna consciousness to the whole world. So I'm just repeating the last paragraph. He says the basic principle of the living condition is that we have a general propensity to love someone. Is that not the basic principle of the living condition? Can we not see that that's a fact? But in actuality, it's the most important fact, isn't it? There are so many basic principles of our living condition, but this is truly the most important. Yeah.
In Malaysia, Gurudev was giving class once, and he said, "What is our greatest need?" And of course the answer was love and affection. He said, "Do you know why?" He said, "Because by constitution we're tiny particles of love and affection."
Yes. By constitution, we're tiny particles of love and affection. This is what it means to attain self-realization, knowledge of the self, to know what we are, and to know what our greatest need is, and especially to know how that can be fulfilled, you see. So he said here that no one can live without loving someone else. You know, Srila Gurudev actually illustrated this. I've seen him use this analogy a few times back in the early period of his preaching. What he was telling was that we are living in this body, and we can go on living for some time, even if we don't have any food. Well, doesn't mean we're going to die immediately. We can go for some time without eating food. Then he said, we also need to drink water. But even if we can't get water, we can still live for a few days without drinking water. Then he said, we also need to breathe air. This is a very great necessity. But even if we don't have air to breathe, we can still live for some minutes. But then he said, if we feel that our life is completely devoid of love, like there's no love, then he said we cannot even live for a moment. That's how urgent it truly is for everyone. Because everyone is feeling that they have some loving connection in this world, that they can go on living. Everyone. Yes. But if they really feel there's no love, then they cannot live for a moment. So, in this way, Srila Prabhupada is saying the same thing. He's saying, no one can live without loving someone else. This propensity, he says, is present in every living being. And this is always an interesting thing to observe, because we can see that, obviously, in animals, can't we? We can see that in dogs and cats and animals. We can see that they have a loving propensity. He says here, even an animal like a tiger has this loving propensity, at least in a dormant stage. And it is certainly present in the human beings. The missing point, however, is, what do you think he's going to say? What's the missing point?
Where to repose our love so that everyone is satisfied.
It's because you memorized that years and years ago. So the missing point is where to repose our love so that everyone can become happy. That's actually the formula for happiness. Where to repose our love so that everyone can be happy. At the present moment, the human society teaches one to love his country or family or his personal self. But there is no information where to repose the loving propensity so that everyone can become happy. That missing point is Krishna. And the nectar of devotion teaches us how to stimulate our original love for Krishna, and how to be situated in that position where we can enjoy our blissful life. Isn't that a wonderful proposal? Just in this one paragraph here. If someone reads this and they have faith, yes, Krishna is the one. Yes, I should try to do this. And they agree with that. And they have faith that by doing this, they'll enjoy real happiness, real blissful life. This is possible for those who have Shraddha. This is possible. Now, we're moving on. In the primary stage, a child loves his parents, and then he loves his brothers and sisters. And as he daily grows up, he begins to love his family, his society, community, country, nation, or even the whole human society. But the loving propensity is not satisfied even by loving all human society. It's not satisfied. That loving propensity. So that loving propensity remains imperfectly fulfilled until we know who is the supreme beloved. That's what Krishna consciousness is. Isn't it? That we've all heard and accepted that Krishna is the supreme beloved. So our love can be fully satisfied only when it is reposed in Krishna. This theme is the sum and substance of the nectar of devotion, Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, which teaches us how to love Krishna in 5 different transcendental mellows. What are those 5 different transcendental mellows?
Sakya, Vatsalya, and Madhurya.
Yes. That's the key. That's the ultimate key. We can love Krishna in one of these 5 ways. And Krishna will also love us in reciprocation. That's what we learn in the nectar of devotion. Now, Srila Prabhupada says the famous sentence, which Braj has memorized.
Our love expands like a ray of light.
Yes. He says, our loving propensity expands just as a vibration of light or air expands. But we do not know what. What don't we know? We don't know where it ends. Our loving propensity expands like a vibration of light or air, but we do not know where it ends. So the nectar of devotion teaches us the science of loving every one of the living entities perfectly by the easy method of loving Krishna. Okay, we have failed to create peace and harmony in human society. Is that true or not? Well, have we failed to create peace and harmony in human society, even by such great attempts as the United Nations? Because we do not know the right method. And when Prabhupada wrote this, what was it, 55 years ago or so, like that, maybe 51 or 2, when he wrote this, he used to make comments about the United Nations, because that was a relatively new thing at that time. They tried to do a different version called the League of Nations that failed. Then again they started. But who are the people that are doing it? Well, they want to control. They want to control the whole world with the one world government, which now we see very clearly That's what they're trying to do. So naturally, they're not interested actually in creating peace and harmony. But Prabhupada used to say, look here's the United Nations. They're calling themselves United Nations. All the nations uniting. But yet we just see increasing flags for each nation. How they're uniting. Prabhupada would say like that, you remember? He would say like that. So, but he says that they have failed even by such great attempts as the United Nations because why? Because we do not know the right method. The method is very simple. The method is simple. But one has to understand it, and here's a real good one, with a cool head. One has to understand the simple method with a cool head. The nectar of devotion teaches all men how to perform the simple and natural method of loving Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. If we learn, there's a big if right here, if we learn how to love Krishna, then it is very easy to immediately and to simultaneously love every living being. Now he gives the famous analogy. It is like pouring water on what? Yes. It is just like pouring water on the root of a tree. Can you pour water on branches? Can you climb on all the branches here and water the trees by pouring on the branches and the leaves? Did you ever water any of these trees?
Do you ever water any of the flowers?
The plants, but not really the trees.
Right. So when you water the plants, are you just watering the stems and the leaves on the plant? Where do you put the water? Huh?
The roots.
At the roots. Why? Why you do that?
Because the roots.
Because that's how they drink. If you want to have water, can your eyes drink it? So the tree drinks the water through its roots. We can't see all those roots, but actually if we dug it up, maybe sometimes you see it when trees fall, But they have a hole underneath the ground. Those roots have gone very deep. Did you know that? Yeah. They go very, very deep. There's so many roots. And each one of them is going, they're drinking the water. And then what happens to the water? When it drinks it into the root, what happens then, Nilamani? Where does the water go? Does it just stay there at the roots? Where does it go?
Goes into the plant.
Yeah, like where? Like suppose we're doing like watering a big huge tree. So the tree, it has tons of branches, doesn't it? Branches and sub-branches and leaves and everything. And you know that when it drinks it from the roots, what happens? It gets distributed up into the branches of the tree, doesn't it? Even every single leaf gets to drink some of that water. Now, what about us? When we drink water,
The water is like love, and if we give it to Krishna, then we give it to everyone.
that's good. But like every day I see you kids coming into the into the plate washing room, And you're all thirsty. Every day I see. And sometimes I'm standing there and they say, I want water. Okay. You want cold water? You want warm water? I want cold water. So then I pour them a big cup and they go, within 10 seconds they've drunk the whole thing. Because they're so thirsty, right? Because they're so thirsty. But where does that water go?
Everywhere.
Everywhere where? In the air? Does it go out of the body into the air? Some of it does, actually. Yeah. But, yeah, it goes everywhere. From your stomach, it's distributed where? To your arms, to your legs, to your head, to your feet. Every part of your body gets the water, right? So, Srila Prabhupada is giving this example. He said that if we learn how to love Krishna, then it is very easy to immediately and simultaneously love every living being. It is like pouring water on the root of a tree or supplying food to one's stomach. The method of pouring water on the root of a tree or supplying foodstuffs to the stomach is universally scientific and practical, as every one of us has experienced. Everyone knows well that when we eat something, or in other words, when we put foodstuffs in the stomach, then the energy created by such action is immediately distributed throughout the whole body. Similarly, when we pour water on the root, then the energy thus created is immediately distributed throughout the entirety of even the largest tree. Did you ever go up and see those tall trees just up here in the park, the national park? Did you see them, Nilamani? Yeah? Did everyone here see them? Yeah. Are they really big? They're unbelievably big. I had a photo taken there a couple of years ago, maybe 3 years ago, when I drove up there with Hansagati. And I climbed over the little thing and I stood by the tree so that I could get a photo of how big the tree is in comparison to me, right? And I mean, it's so wide, and then when you look up, it's unbelievably tall, right? But that tree has water coming from the roots. Even here in California, where we don't get rain in this part of California at most of like from like May. May is like the end of it, and then June, July, August, September, October, November. At least for about 5 or 6 months, no rain. And we also see that during this winter period, there were some days of rain, but most of the days, no rain. But yet, all the trees go on living. And even these gigantic trees. How is it possible? Because their roots are going down very, very far. And they're connecting with water that is under the ground. Yeah. So, now he says, it is not possible to water the tree part by part, nor is it possible to feed the different parts of the body separately. The Nectar Devotion will teach us how to turn the one switch that will immediately brighten everything everywhere. One who does not know this method is missing the point of life. So you remember we used to do that little skit?
The parts of the body?
Of the hand saying that I'm tired of constantly feeding all the food to the mouth. I'm getting tired of this. I want to eat the food myself. Why should I give it to the mouth? You know? And then the hand goes on strike. I'm not going to serve the mouth anymore. And when it tries to eat the food, it can't anyway, right? It can only smush it around. But after some time, the hand just gets weaker, weaker, weaker. And then it understands, oh, yeah, I guess I'm going to have to serve the mouth, the stomach. And with its last energy, it just somehow or other picks up some food, puts it in the mouth, and within a few minutes, he starts to feel okay again. Did you ever see that skit?
I saw another one, but I didn't see that one.
What was the other one?
We did a play up here called The Parts of the Body.
Oh, yeah.
And they rebelled against the stomach.
Oh.
The hand says, I know I'm a little touchy,
Oh.
but I think things are getting out of hand. We do all the work around here.
Did you write that?
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
We do all the work around here, the stomach just sits back and enjoys.
Right.
Then the knee says, the foot says something, and the mouth says something, and we all different signals.
Okay. That's the same skit, just with a much more classy lines. Yeah. All right. Now, one who does not know this method is missing the point of life. As far as material necessities are concerned, the human civilization at the present moment is very much advanced in living comfortably. But still, we are not happy because we are missing the point. The material comforts of life alone are not sufficient to make us happy. Material comforts of life alone are not sufficient to make us happy. The vivid example is America, the richest nation of the world. Jai Shri Shri Guru Gauranga Gandharika Girdhari Radha Govinda Jiu Ki Jai. So Prabhupada used to say like this, and that's why he came to America, because what America does, everybody follows. We'll see how long that condition lasts, but at any rate, he says, the vivid example is America, the richest nation of the world. Having all facilities for material comfort, it is producing a class of men completely confused and frustrated in life. And did Prabhupada see that class of men? He sure did. What were they called?
Hippies.
Yeah. And Gurudev always used to love to tell how Swamiji came and he turned the hippies into happies. So, and then Prabhupada now he says, I am appealing herewith to such confused men to learn the art of devotional service as directed in the nectar of devotion. And I am sure that the fire of material existence burning within their hearts will be immediately extinguished. The root cause of our dissatisfaction is that our dormant loving propensity has not been fulfilled despite our great advancement in the materialistic way of life. The nectar of devotion will give us practical hints how we can live in this material world perfectly engaged in devotional service and thus fulfill all our desires in this life and the next. The nectar of devotion is not presented to condemn any way of materialistic life, but the attempt is to give information to religionists, philosophers, and people in general how to love Krishna. One may live without material discomfiture, but at the same time, he should learn the art of loving Krishna. At the present moment, we are inventing so many ways to utilize our propensity to love, but factually we are missing the real point, Krishna. We are watering all parts of the tree, but missing the tree's root. We are trying to keep our body fit by all means, but we are neglecting to supply foodstuffs to the stomach. Missing Krishna means missing oneself also. There we go. Missing Krishna means missing oneself also. Real self-realization and realization of Krishna go together simultaneously. For example, seeing oneself in the morning means seeing the sunrise also. Without seeing the sunshine, no one can see himself. Similarly, unless one has realized Krishna, there is no question of self-realization. So this is the final paragraph. The nectar of devotion is specifically presented for persons who are now engaged in the Krishna consciousness movement. So who did Prabhupada write this for? Us, the devotees. Specifically, it is presented for persons who are now engaged, like that little boy from Milwaukee, Wisconsin, who joined in Detroit in 1970, because the book came just at that time. So, it is for the persons who are now engaged in the Krishna consciousness movement. I beg to offer my sincere thanks to all my friends and disciples who are helping me to push forward the Krishna consciousness movement in the Western countries. And I beg to acknowledge with thanks the contribution made by my beloved disciple, Srimad Jayananda Brahmachari. My thanks are due as well to the directors of ISKCON Press. They didn't even have the BBT at that time, who have taken so much care in publishing this great literature. Hare Krishna. A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami, ISKCON headquarters, Los Angeles, California.
What a beautiful book. So beautiful.
I know. I never read it in this way, like in a class setting, you know. But how incredible. Srila Prabhupada giving the highest subject matter, rasa tattva, highest subject matter. And now he's going to present this book. You know, Srila Prabhupada actually, in presenting this summary study, okay, what he did was the first wave, because there are 4 waves. So the first wave, the beginning of Srila Rupa Goswami's Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, is pertaining to sadhana bhakti, the process of bhakti yoga, which is in the stage of sadhana, in the stage of practicing. And that's what he mostly focused on. Of course, he did present the rest of the book in a summary study, but he mostly went into explanation on that topic, the topics of sadhana bhakti, which includes raganuga bhakti, by the way. But he didn't use the term raganuga bhakti so much. He used the term spontaneous devotional service, like that. But we know that in the in the realm of bhakti, that there are actually 3 stages. Did you know that? That there are 3 stages of practicing bhakti yoga. And the first stage we just mentioned is sadhana. What is the second stage? Yes, bhav bhakti. So we are here, like Krishna, like Prabhupada was telling, to learn the art of loving Krishna. And this is the art. And this is the process. It doesn't change. It will not change for millions and billions of years. It is the process which Krishna himself, in the form of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, descended to give to the jivas, especially in this Dhamya Kali Yuga. And he demonstrated it himself, and his main chief disciples and followers, 6 Goswamis, they also demonstrated. So how lucky and fortunate we are that Srila Prabhupada came, who is one of those divine personalities, but he came here into such a difficult circumstance and continued without any letting up, just pushing. You can see by his letters, 12 years of letters, pushing and pushing, just to establish in the world Krishna consciousness movement. And then he arranged for his beloved associates, Srila Bhakti Rakshak Sridhar Maharaj and Srila Bhakti Vedanta Narayan Maharaj, who are perfected souls, to continue to unfold the whole presentation. And so we're so fortunate because we're the recipients of that. What Gurudev came here 15 years in a row, traveling all around the world, writing his books. It was practically equivalent achievement in a different way from Srila Prabhupada's, because he didn't waste any time. And he built an entire international society with literally a few thousand disciples all around the world, you know. And he labored very hard to give the books that he gave, and even still more are coming from the Hindi publications section. And he completed the presentation which Srila Prabhupada certainly wanted to be completed. Did you know that Prabhupada wanted all the books of the Goswamis and our Rupanuga Acharyas? He wanted them to be translated. In 1975, when his production of the Srimad Bhagavatam and Chaitanya Charitamrita was going so quickly, and then at that time he was asked, "Well, Srila Prabhupada, if you finish the Bhagavatam, then what will you translate? Will you translate maybe Vedanta Sutra or Mahabharata, one of these epic literatures? Will you translate something like that?" And then Prabhupada said, those literatures are not as important to us in terms of bhakti as the literatures of the Goswamis and the literatures of our Rupanuga Acharyas like Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, Bhakti Vinod Thakur, like that. He said they should all be translated. And then Ramaswar asked Prabhupada, well, in the event, Srila Prabhupada, if you're not able to finish before you leave this world, to finish the Bhagavatam, is there anyone else who can do it? And then Srila Prabhupada directly stated, there are only 2 persons on the planet who can write purports to the Srimad Bhagavatam in the English language. Myself and my godbrother, Bhakti Rakshak Sridhar Maharaj. I don't know if you ever heard that before, but I saw it with my own eyes. At the end of the marathon that we did in 1975, it was on the BBT newsletter, posted on the bulletin board in front of the Los Angeles temple. So I knew from that moment on, he's the one. Then, in 2 years' time, from that time, Srila Prabhupada was preparing to leave. And when the GBC members approached him at the very end, they asked him the inevitable question, Srila Prabhupada, is there anyone else who you can recommend to us that we can go to for guidance after you leave? He says, yes. You can go to my godbrother, Bhakti Rakshak Sridhar Maharaj. So these are all facts, historical, documented facts. And they did go to inquire from him, and then for the next few years, so many were going. So but also...
Later on they changed their idea and then they became against them?
Yes. That's the most shocking thing. I was just discussing that yesterday, when we were sitting together. Can you imagine that Srila Prabhupada has made this arrangement? Not only that, there's a whole discussion between them, which was recorded. Prabhupada and Srila Sridhar Maharaj. Prabhupada is inviting him, please come and live in the same house with me in Mayapur. And then he said Prabhupada said to Srila Sridhar Maharaj, he said, I am feeling a very great need to consult with someone, but there is no one. So I want that you will come and live there. Jai Patak is building a house for me. You will not have to move anywhere of your own energy. They'll build a lift. There's a whole taped conversation between them. And he even wanted Srila Sridhar Maharaj to be the president of ISKCON, to actually take such a formal position, And of course we know that Srila Prabhupada also requested Gurudev, Srila Bhaktivedanta Narayan Maharaj, to help his disciples. And that's the reason why we're sitting here. Because Prabhupada requested him to help his disciples. And when Srila Gurudev saw that his disciples were coming to him, the ISKCON leaders, he began to help them. All of his classes that he gave are all recorded. And that went on for 6 years. 6 years. Coming to him, getting classes on all the important literatures like Vilapa Kushamanjali even. So they requested Gurudev to help them understand these higher literatures. And Gurudev was helping. You can hear the tapes yourself. So then why? Why did they suddenly turn away? That's a big topic. But the point is that Srila Gurudev, Srila Sridhar Maharaj, of course, was very old. He could not go anywhere, even down the stairs. But he stayed in the world 11 years. Amazing. He actually thought, because he was asked, why didn't you accept the invitation to live there in Mayapur? And one of the things he told, and you can see it from the final photo of him standing with Prabhupada, he was not well at that time at all. He had become very thin and gaunt. The final photo of them standing together on the rooftop there at Chaitanya Saraswat Mat. And Srila Prabhupada, Srila Sridhar Maharaj, he told that actually he thought that the way he put it, he said, I thought that I would not survive Swami Maharaj. In other words, he thought that he was going to leave very soon. His health was not good. But Krishna kept him in this world for 11 more years. And there were 1,200 hours of recorded darshans with him. Yes, and what he gave, astonishing. I was just, this one devotee who came up here for our festival, Yashodanandan. He's initiated by Srila Bhaktivigyan Bharati Maharaj only a few years ago. He's kind of new. Very nice. Pran lives in the same apartment building. And I had a wonderful talk with him. He is absolutely fallen in love with Srila Bhakti Rakshak Sridhar Maharaj. I mean, he was just saying it again and again. He wants to make the ultimate biographical movie, because he's a movie maker actually. Documentary, he made a whole documentary film. And he says he wants to spend the next 20 years of his life The way that Srila Sridhar Maharaj speaks just completely captured. He says, I'm an artist. The way he speaks, you know. So what I'm saying, and I'm finishing now, Krishna has made the arrangement to bring these personalities into this world and to accomplish what they did. And everything is now given. I mean, there's more, but the basis is already presented to the entire world by Srila Gurudev. What he accomplished will never be forgotten because he's given these literatures, he's made it clear, he's given all the lectures to all of his disciples around the world, and everyone knows what is the process, what is the goal, you know. So we're very fortunate. We can never estimate our good fortune. So hopefully in the future, everything will expand more and more and everyone will have this opportunity.
Yamamani will be temple president.
Jai Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Srila Gurudeva ki jai. Shri Rupa Nuga Guru Varga ki jai. Shri Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu ki jai. Nectar of devotion